So we're doing tarot.
Yes.
You've got your tarot cards.
I do.
We've got not quite tarot cards in the background. Everything's set.
Those are tarot cards. Those are really, really old ones. One of the oldest decks, actually. That's called the Solar Busker.
The solar.
Yeah.
Sorry, it just made me think of someone, in the street playing a guitar.
I can tell you've got a lot.
I've got a lot of questions.
Of information that's coming your way.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about tarot today. So, depending on where our conversation goes, I'm going to try and keep it broad rather than this is what this deck is and this is another deck. There are other podcasters that do that, so I don't want to get into their space. We're not going to do this is a good deck, this is a naff deck. We're just going to talk about tarot more broadly.
Okay, now I really want to know what a naff deck is, but let's not go there. All right, so tarot. So, as we've already established, everything I know about this kind of stuff is from pop culture.
Yes.
And I have a feeling that much like our experiences so far, pop culture will have lied to me when it comes to tarot.
Quite possibly.
Quite possibly. All right, because I'm thinking things like James Bond's Princess and the Frog, all these kind of things where there's tarot cards in it, where it's quite clear that the tarot card, the image on the card, is directly relating to what the card is telling you. So, for example, pop culture tells me that if the death card comes up, someone gonna die. If the lovers card comes up, someone gonna have some fun. And I kind of feel like that's not really how it works. So
no, that's not how it works. So yeah, I do know the James Bond you're thinking of. It's where what's his name, Roger Moore, is trying to get off with what's her name,
Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. No, wait.
Oh my God, was she Dr. That wasn't her.
Jane Seymour.
Jane Seymour. Was Jane Seymour Dr. Quinn?
Yes.
Oh my God. I am not that old, but sure.
Somehow I feel like having knowledge has kind of made this come out worse for me. All right, maybe be less pop culture.
So Jane Seymour and Roger Moore, she's the tarot reader.
She's the tarot reader.
In that.
Yeah.
And he is trying to get off with her. So he gets his, yeah, it's 007, always getting off with someone, right? So either he's dealing the cards or she deals the cards, and somehow the lover's card comes up. But then the camera pans, and it was a deck made up entirely of lovers cards, so it was always going to come up.
That sounds like a naff deck.
Yeah, that's a pretty shit deck. So the lovers card, whilst you might think it's to do with getting it on, it's not. It's not about that at all. It's a card about choice. So big choice, not do I want a chocolate bar or an apple.
Right. Okay.
So it's about life choices and making sure that you are making choices that are in alignment with your values.
Okay.
That's what that card means. It's got bugger all to do with sex. If you want a card about sex, look for the devil card. That's the card all about getting it on.
Okay. So many different avenues that conversation could now go. We should probably try and avoid. All right, cool. So basically, pop culture's a liar.
Yeah, I mean, it's trying to tell a story, isn't it, at the end of the day? It's not, here is a training video about tarot. It's just that people see it and they think, okay, that's what that means because the word is there.
I also feel that in pop culture, tarot as a whole is kind of portrayed as being like a fairground attraction type thing. Go and see the lady with the crystal ball, I'll read your cards, I'll tell your future, that sort of thing. And that's, I mean, is that slightly more accurate? Do we read to kind of see what's going to happen? I don't feel like it's going to be specific enough to say you're going to meet a tall, dark stranger, which seems to be what they all say.
Okay, yes, tarot can be divinatory in that sense, that you're pulling some cards to see, okay, what should I know about today? So I'm going to do a card of the day, and I'm going to pull that card out and put it on the table. Okay, that's what it says. That's the kind of energy I can expect from that day.
But do you need to be asking it a question? You can't just say, right, I'm going to do card of the day, and then whatever card it is comes up that's telling you something. Is it not in relation to what you want to know?
Yes. Yeah, you have to ask it a question.
Yeah, so you couldn't just take your deck of cards now, flip one out and say, there you go, this is what's going to happen, unless you've actually said,
yeah,
tell me a thing. What is a thing? What do I need to know if I want to do something? I feel like I'm jumping ahead.
Okay, wind it back a bit.
Right.
So imagine you're in a lecture.
Okay.
You put your hand up for that lecturer to invite you into the conversation. You then don't ask that lecturer a question. You just stare at them and go, well, what's the answer? It's kind of like that.
Okay, so all right, that's really helpful.
That's all right.
Really good. So the tarot deck is a lecturer. I've got a question because I don't understand something or I want to know more about something. I ask the lecturer, I ask the deck, and then we draw a card. And the card, depending on its meaning and the various different ways in which it can be interpreted, gives me kind of like an overview answer.
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's it, exactly.
All right. What if I have a multi-part question for my lecturer? Like, I'm really not getting what he's talking about, what she's talking about, what they are talking about. And I need to get into this. Can you still do that?
Yes, absolutely. So the more cards you pull, the more information you're going to get about the answer that you're after. But you always have to balance that with constantly pulling another card for another card and then another card until you've got all 78 laid out in front of you. That's going to be quite overwhelming. So I would invite you to think about the question that you are asking.
Okay.
Because if you were to ask what's the meaning of life, flip the cards.
Just 78 is not going to be enough to answer that one. Okay.
No, so it would have to be quite detailed. And a trick that you can do to get to the root of the question you want to ask is think about a question. What do I need to know about my day? Ask yourself why at the end of that. Why is that important?
Okay.
And that might spin off into because I've got a horrible meeting. Do you know what I mean? And then you're trying to get a feel for what is that meeting? What do I need to know about that particular bit of that particular part of my day? And you can apply that. You
can be that specific.
You can be. There are decks that you can use that give better yes-no type answers or can get into the more specific answers that you're looking for. So tarot is one system. There are other systems that you can use. For example, Lenormand is the kind of system that would give you that specificity. It's very direct, though.
Right. Now, those are slightly different tarot cards.
They're Lenormand cards.
Sorry. I've seen those, and the images are completely different.
Yeah.
And am I right in thinking that is kind of, is that even more about the interrelationship between the cards, in that if you ask a question, you draw one and then you draw another, it kind of determines actually a bit more about how you should interpret the first one? Mm-hmm. So if this, then that sort of thing, is that right?
Yeah. So tarot cards, they have quite broad meanings, and because tarot cards have got a lot of intricate artwork on them, any bit of the card that you're looking at can give you the answer to the question you've asked. So with the tarot card, the card that you draw might have a different meaning even if you asked the same question,
right,
at a different point in time, because your eye may be drawn to a different bit of the artwork on the page.
Okay.
But Lenormand has the same meaning all the time, always, even if you ask different questions. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And actually that's really helpful, because I think that comes on to some of the other things that I've noted with tarot decks. And I know you said we're not going to get into what's a good deck and what's a bad deck and things like that. But the artwork does feel massively important. And
yes.
So that thing about you looking, your eye might be drawn to different parts of the artwork kind of helps me understand why it's so important. So going back to my favourite liar, pop culture, it's a thing now, isn't it? Like, people produce tarot decks based on TV shows or films or things like that. And some of the things that I've seen, so for example, we saw one the other day, Star Trek Next Generation, and the artwork is very much about fitting what we know of the characters to the name of the card, not the meaning of the card. And actually because they're doing that, it's making the artwork more fun for Next Generation fans, but not really something that you'd want to practice tarot with.
Yeah, that's fair. So I've seen that deck, and it's a fun deck, absolutely. From my memory, I think the Strength card is represented by Commander or Lieutenant Commander, depending on where you are in the series. Sorry, spoilers. Is represented by Worf.
Yeah, because he's the security guy. He's a Klingon. He's massive. He's strong. However, the Strength card is about that quiet, feminine strength, personal strength, your resilience almost. Worf isn't a quiet, strong person. I mean, he grows.
He grows as a person.
Various appearances, but I think that's fair. All right, so that's really helpful. So there's limited value in sort of for practicing in sort of like the pop culture kind of cards, I guess. We're kind of veering away to where you said you didn't want to go. Sorry.
That's all right. Sorry. I'm quite happy to be dragged.
All right, I'll try and drag it back to what you said you wanted to talk about. So you can ask different types of questions. There are different types of readings. Yeah. And you joked about drawing 78 cards to get the answer, but there are different types of readings, and there are different numbers of cards in a type of reading to help you get where you want to go. So you've used card of the day as an example, where I've got a question about like, oh, what's this meeting going to be like, or what do I need to be aware of for the day? I draw one card. If I had a more kind of personal developy type question.
Sure, yes.
That would be one card's not going to cut it, surely.
No.
So if I would want to say, I'm thinking of starting a Magick podcast.
Okay.
For example, what kind of, what should I be aware of, or is now the right time, that sort of thing. So then that feels more development-y rather than tell me my future.
Yeah, that's fair. So if you wanted to take your career in another direction, so for that you might want to understand where the risks are with that, what you might be missing in terms of your own skills and where you could go to plug those skills gaps. So a card reading for personal development, especially where you are proactively trying to do something, you already kind of have an objective in mind. You might draw like a card for different scenarios. So you could end up with 3 cards that tell the story about not changing your career direction. You could have another 3 cards that tell a story about changing your career direction. And then you could pull cards for what you should think about in terms of the skills that you're missing. So altogether, that's 9 cards just by trying to almost workshop what it is that you want to do next with your job, for example. But that is all great for when you know what you need to do. You just maybe don't know how to get there, potentially. There are other uses for personal development where tarot is really, really helpful. And this is all around what Jung called shadow work.
Okay.
So shadow work is all those horrid bits of your psyche you either don't want to look at, or for whatever reason you just can't get at it. So maybe you have an issue with something. You're not really sure where it comes from.
Okay.
Pulling tarot cards can actually help hold a mirror up to your shadow side so that you can have a look at what the meaning says and maybe draw a card for action about how you might try to move past that particular issue. So it's great for shadow work as well. So as well as when you might have an idea of the direction you want to go in, it's great for that. So you can spot the traps, but it's equally just as useful, if not more useful, for things that you can't unlock in yourself.
Okay. So, for example, I, like I'm sure many other people, have a very bad habit in my working life of waiting until the last minute to do stuff. You know, much like when I was a student, it's carried it all the way through, have not grown out of it. And I kind of need a deadline, a hard deadline to produce something quickly. Are you saying that I could do a reading to help me understand why that is and how to improve it, or have I completely got the wrong end of the stick?
No, you could do a reading for that. Do you want to do a reading for that?
So as Jung referred to the shadow work and stuff, I kind of feel that the description there is, don't lift up that rock. So let's maybe not.
Maybe you're not ready to. So that's the won't look at it box.
Yeah, I'm still getting over the fact that pop culture has lied to me about what tarot actually is and how it works. So I think maybe using it to delve into the deep dark elements of my psyche and why I approach life the way I do might be like a bit of a leap. Maybe we'll do some other bits first, like what do I need to be aware of for the day?
Get you used to tarot as a tool.
How bad is this meeting going to be? That sort of thing.
Yeah, we can start there. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Before we started to look at tarot, before we even knew each other.
Yes.
What were your perceptions of tarot and the woo in general?
Honestly?
Yes.
I think that it was a bit woo and not really serious, I think would be fair. It was ornamental. So, and I mean that in the way that, I refer to, these are nice decks to have. There's lots of lovely artwork around them. So these are really lovely. You can look at these and appreciate the pictorial descriptions rather than this is something that you would take seriously as a medium. And I think that all comes from, like I said, I've seen it only in pop culture where it is it's not mocked, but it's not taken seriously. and people going to get their fortune read or see the tarot card read, they're not taken seriously as characters either. They're kind of mocked, regardless of how accurate any reading is or anything like that. It doesn't feel like it's something that mainstream pop culture takes overly seriously. I think that maybe is coming a bit round with sort of the growing prevalence of, I was going to say supernatural type shows, but like Supernatural, for example. I haven't watched that, so I don't know how much of a liar that is. But like Buffy and other things like that. Not just tarot, but the overall sense of magic, Wicca, all the different types of definitions around magic stuff. That seems to be more. Pop culture is taking it more seriously, and as I've learned more through you and watching the stuff that you do and the work that you're doing and the amount of effort you're putting into the podcast and the website and the course and everything that is available to people to learn more themselves, I'm starting to understand that actually you peel back the layers, there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more truth to it, and actually I can see why it matters to people, and saying why they believe in it feels churlish, but actually why they do have faith in it and why it works for them, and they can see outputs, and this thing is something to be taken seriously. So that's something. So I've already done personal development without the need for a tarot reading. But I think that's where I am with it now compared to where I was with it before.
So if you went to counselling, not suggesting you need counselling, but if you did, and your counsellor produced a tarot deck, what would you think of that counsellor?
I don't know. That's such a loaded question. In that, it kind of depends on what I'm there for. I have had counselling in the past, and I've had counselling that didn't work, and I've had counselling that did work. None of them produced a tarot deck. Depending on the nature of what I was there for and the type of person I was talking to, I think I wouldn't dismiss it. Yeah. I think 5-10 years ago, I probably would have left. So what is this? This isn't a serious form of counselling, is it?
Sure. But if a counsellor blobbed some ink on a page, folded it, and then invited you to look at that picture.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good challenge. It is an equally valid form, isn't it? Because it's interpretation, it's how your mind works, and I know it's getting into the psychology of it all as well,
which I love.
I know you love it, and it really fascinates me, and maybe that's something we can talk about on another podcast further down the line. Is sort of psychology and science behind all of this as well, and how the brain works. So I think the Rorschach test. Excuse me, put my teeth in. The Rorschach test is actually a really good challenge back to people who would dismiss tarot as a form of counselling. I think the whole point of it is to help you understand, isn't it? It's to delve in and interpret meaning in certain things in your life, and why not use tarot for that? Exactly.
And so from my perspective, I think the counselling community or the psychology community or whatever has not embraced the idea that tarot cards as 78 pictures could be a useful tool. For whatever reason. Maybe that is just going back literally centuries of this is what woo people use, this is what hippies use, this is, it is not to be taken seriously, this is not a proper medium of any sort, the end of the pier show with your crinkly old lady.
Cross my palms and I will read your fortune.
Exactly. So I don't know if it's just those stereotypes that have got in the way of using tarot as a tool. But from my perspective, it is no less legitimate, if that's the right thing, than the ink blot test, basically.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Like I said, I think that's a really good challenge back to people. Like, you've literally just kind of done some primary school art and asked people to delve into it and get meaning from it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you use something else?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so it feels like there's a lot that tarot can do. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about to explain the wonders of tarot?
So there are different readers, obviously. There are readers that want to help you with your future and stuff
when you say
like that.
Readers, sorry, you mean like actual people?
Card readers.
Card readers.
Tarot
yeah,
card readers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Actual humans.
Yeah.
You can even just do it automatically. You can get an
Online.
electronic AI will do you 3 cards or whatever. There are loads of services that do that.
Closer and closer to Terminator. Funny.
So there are different kinds of readers, and I'm not trying to dismiss those readers that are very, very good at drawing cards that can, for want of a better phrase, tell your fortune.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a really loaded phrase because it's not representative fairly of their skills and their abilities. I'm not one of those readers. I am more into the tarot for personal development, as with everything that we do here at Magenta. It's all about personal development. But I would just sort of be mindful of the charge, that the cost it would, what's the right way? How much it's going to cost you. So you can hire, obviously, people for your stag do or your hen do or whatever that will come in and they will do readings for you.
That feels like that's much more performative.
Yes, exactly. Performative. It's the same way that you can hire a tarot reader to come to your village fete or, your school open evening or even your work do. Side quest, little side story. I was once part of a working group to put together an away day for everyone at our work. This was years ago. And obviously because I was in charge, it was all tarot card readers, aura photographers, it was all of this stuff. Everybody loved it. Everybody absolutely went nuts for it. Hands down, best away day they've ever had. Because it was so different.
Yeah.
And I think, how you get these consultants and specialists in that can do your colours for you? Why not have businesses invite tarot people for personal development, come in, do readings for the board, try to get them to do their shadow work? I would bloody love that.
All right,
if that happened at our place, that would be amazing. And I would like to think that this is the direction that society is going in. So when you're charged for stuff, if you're kind of, that's a bit much, why would I be charged, I don't know, £100 for an hour for somebody to tell me when I'm going to meet a tall, dark stranger? You're more likely to be getting a tarot reading for your personal development, because those kind of readers have got different skills. They've probably had a counselling background. They are pulling on those skills and training that they've had to help steer you in that sort of personal development way, rather than end of the pier show, here's your 3 cards, that, leave a tip in the tip jar. That's probably something that 9 times out of 10 people are just going to dismiss.
Yeah.
Because it is just performative, as you say.
Right, so it seems there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Firstly, I think you need to copyright your tarot for business idea before this goes out. Secondly, I think what we're hearing is if you want a proper reading for personal development, multi-card reading, in depth, you should really be prepared to pay for it. It's like anything else. It's like counselling. Counselling is not cheap. If you want to go down that route, you have to pay for it. So, DMing on Instagram and saying I've got 17 followers and I'll promote it isn't the future. It's not the way to get yourself a 1 hour multi-card personal development tarot reading.
Oh my God, no.
No. So, okay. And that's not just because you do those kind of readings. That's because people need to understand that when they're going out and they're looking for this kind of thing and they're asking for it, that there is a cost associated. It's like any other profession.
Of course.
People charge for their services. If you want a 3-card when will I meet the love of my life type thing, that's not going to cost you a lot of money. If you want an in-depth delve into your psyche, understand what's going on, help you make some important life decisions, use the cards, spend some time interpreting. I can't speak. Spend some time understanding them with the tarot reader. That's going to cost you some money.
Yes, it's, as you say, it's like anything. Would you go to the dentist and expect it to be free? No, not in this day and age.
I did when I was younger.
Oh my God, yeah. We could get into a side conversation all about privatisation and the benefits of the NHS, but we're not going to. That's a different podcast.
That is a different podcast. Yes, let's not.
But yeah, it's like anything. If you don't want to pay or you can't afford to pay, that's fine. There are online services that will do you a free reading. It's going to be a machine. It's not going to be a person.
It's not going to answer any questions you might have around, well, how does this look at this?
No,
and if I, like you said about the different bits of the artwork, if your eye is drawn to a different part of the card, no AI is going to help you with that.
No.
You need an actual person to talk to help you understand what's happening and how that what that means and why it's different to the last time you drew that card.
Yep, absolutely, because that is often a challenge back, as well as when we were talking earlier about the death card and the lover's card. People will often say, oh, well, I went to a different reader and they said that card means blah, blah, blah. And it's, it did then with that person, but you're here with me and you've asked this question and it means this now.
Exactly. It's like you Rorschach, you can look at the same thing on multiple occasions and it will mean something different to you. So why would you expect tarot to be different? All right.
Totes.
I feel like I've learned a lot today. Obviously the overriding takeaway is pop culture remains a liar. But the cards and the artwork is really important because the different parts of the art mean different things, and depending on what your eye is drawn to, it answers your question differently.
Yeah.
There are different types of readings depending on what you want to get out of the questions that you're asking. Tarot is kind of like a lecturer. I really like that analogy. You ask the question, you get the explanation, and depending on how complicated the question or how complicated the answer needs to be, that's how you spend time delving into it. You look at the different meanings. But there is obviously a cost associated with that because it is something that, takes someone's time and they've trained to do this. You're not just paying for the hour that you're spending with someone, you're paying for the years of training and experience that they're bringing to the table to help you get to where you need to be. Tarot is a viable option for counselling, and we should write a paper for the British Medical Journal.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Tarot should be used in away days and to replace Bridesmaid or whatever it's called. Mayor's Brig. Sorry. See, I don't take those overly seriously either. Tarot is a viable way of helping you understand different parts of your life, different parts of your psychology, your psyche, and how you can kind of develop and improve and grow like Worf throughout the Star Trek series.
Bless. Yes, grow like Worf.
Grow like Worf.
Yeah.
What would Worf do?
Yes, what would Wolf do? Can I just circle back to the counselling thing?
Yes.
All right, so just to be clear, I wouldn't want anybody who is currently seeing a counsellor or is about to start seeing a counsellor to just bin that off.
No, God, no. No, sorry, that's not what we're advocating here at all. Nor should you go charging into your counsellor's office and demand that they use tarot. Put those ink blots down, get out the deck. Here, I've got one with Star Trek people on it. That's not a good idea. Stick to your prescribed medical treatments.
Yeah, I would just invite any counsellors that might be listening, just think about the art in a tarot deck. It's not scary, it's not spooky. You're not going to summon some entity from another dimension into someone's brain. It's fine, honestly. Oh, that's all I would say.
All right. And if there are counsellors listening who would like to learn more, please feel free to get in touch with us here at Magenta. We would be more than happy to help you. For a fee, obviously. We've already ascertained that everything costs. Alternatively, you could do the Understanding Magic course that's available.
You mean Magic Discovered?
That's the one I said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your title is better.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right.
Cool, thank you. It's been, as always, extremely helpful.
My absolute pleasure. And that's it. That's our show.
So that's it. That's our show. If you liked it, give us a rating and review, share with others, tell your friends. You'll find all our contact stuff over at magentaschoolofmagic.com, including our social media and links to the Magic School itself.